What is up, everybody? What's going on, Facebook family, PowerPath group, STR experts, everybody in between? Today we are really dialing in some money, talking about ADRs, top line revenue, how to double it, how to make more money. So we got a lot of good stuff coming at you today. So for the next, say, 60 minutes, I think it may go a little farther over than that. But for the next hour, if you got a headphone popped in, you're sitting in front of the computer watching me on the phone, cool. Appreciate you being here. If you're not here and you didn't make it, you're lame. It's not on the tape. But I would love to see you guys throw it in the chat where you're watching from, what you guys are doing, maybe how many properties you got, because at one property is a whole lot easier to manage than, say, 10, but at 10, you have a lot better scale. So if there's something you're going to do on one property, you can do it times 10, right? So we have that scalability that at the end of the day, you make more money. I mean, it's kind of like running a hotel. You got that opportunity times 10 or 20 or 30 or 55 or whatever. So drop me a comment. Tell me what's up. I'd like to know who's here, who's watching, where you guys are at, how many units you got, anything in between. Like, love to hear it, love to see it, and do all that. So now before we get started, understanding this concept of like doubling the ADR and making more money was not something I was really focused on back, when we first started. I wish I was. I wish this is something that somebody would instill into me when we got started, because at the end of the day, at some point we got to a point where we said, what if we stopped growing and we maximized everything we have? Like, that's it. What if we stopped growing today and we just executed and we optimized and all that kind of stuff? Like, what if we did that? What would happen? At the end of the day, you make more money and you keep more money if you do it right. So tell me where you're at. Tell me what you got going on. Love to hear it. And I got some notes over here to the side because we got a lot to talk about as far as revenue and ADR. And I will tell you here in just a second, we will really get started. But I want to take a second and talk about what ADR is, right? So we talk about ADR, average daily rate. How do you increase it? And it is not so much as taking your $100 base rate and turn it into $200. It could be like some of these things you could do that. But overall, if we look at all the revenue generated from a property, top line, before commissions, before maintenance, before supplies, before clean fees, before all that, top line, maybe it's 10 grand, maybe it's 20 grand a month, maybe it's $5K, maybe it's $1,000, maybe you got a little apartment, it does $1,000 a month. Taking that and combining that with your occupancy gives you an ADR, right? So, and I'll do some quick math for you, okay? Just to put it in instance. So if you think about what your property does, let's just say 10 grand a month, okay? 10K a month, and you're at, let's say 50. Depending on where you're at, say 50%, you could say 50, 70, you could, we'll say 50. Okay. So 50% occupancy. So you're going to take let's say you got 30 days in a month, 30 days a month times 50% occupancy is 15 days. So you got 15 days and you're doing 10K a month. So you're going to 10K, you're going to divide it by your 15 days. That is your occupancy. It's going to give you $667 a day. That's your ADR. Now, if you want to get deep into that, you could say RevPAR. You could say, we'll take all these expenses out. This is all our cost out. Take it even more in depth. But high numbers, we just want to say our ADR is, say, $667 a month or a night. So that's kind of where your ADR, it's a very, very high number in your Excel file and your KPIs of what you're tracking. And so when your revenue dips, so your occupancy goes up, your occupancy goes down, That all affects your ADR. Now, ADR and base rate is not the same thing. Okay, so just understand that. And there's ways that we can increase the ADR, we increase the gross revenue, we increase the RevPAR. There's a lot of things that happen there. Like your ADR may not change and your gross revenue might not change, but you're booking longer stays, you're keeping more money, and now your RevPAR is actually higher, right? Nothing else really changed. You increase your RevPAR, but not really increasing anything else. So like we just want to be clear, okay? Not a lot of like newer people or early people or two-year vets or whatever in here track RevPAR. It's something you could. That's like cost, like how much you're actually making per day that somebody's there, like the actual money you're making per day. And that gets like super, super deep, and you could go really, really deep in there. And if you're not running a very high-end hotel that's doing a lot of upsells and a lot of upgrades, that kind of thing, you really, honestly, I wouldn't even worry about it. Okay, so I just sideswipe that. We're just looking at ADR. So $10,000, let's say 50% occupancy. You got $10,000 gross revenue, 50% occupancy. So take 50%, times that by 30 days, roughly. It could be 31 days, could be 28 days. That'll give you a number of 15. You divide the 10,000 by the 15. That gives you $667 a day. Okay, so that's your ADR. Now, understanding that is very important. Understands that very important. Okay, now things you can increase your ADR. I'm just going to give you a whole list of them because if you can increase the revenue, you can increase the ADR, right? So, or you can increase, decrease, or whatever. So you got everything, any kind of fees that you can charge, any kind of upsells you can charge, any kind of changes in the rates, like all of so like pet fees, pool fees, saunas, late checkout, early check-in. I've got a bunch over here. Experiences, gift baskets, if you want to sell those, packages, like anything, right? You don't increase the rate. And if your occupancy doesn't change at all, say you have 50%, what you're focusing on is increasing the value of that guest. That's what you're doing. Increasing the value of the guest, the night stay, the daily rate. You're increasing the value of all those when you start adding these upsells into them, right? What you want to be careful of is like if you do an upsell and it's like a gift basket or whatever, a dog basket, and it's like, okay, what's $60 for the dog basket? Cool, you're increasing your revenue, but you don't want to spend $55 on creating that basket, right? You want to have some net there. So just, heads up. Now that you understand what ADR is, right? I've got a big list over here. I've got a big guide, so I'm just going to be going back and forth because there's a lot to talk about here. Now, there's going to be some things that we can do like in Price Labs to help. There's design things that we can change. There's amenity things that we can change. There's upsell things that we can change. There's packages that we can combine with to increase our ADR, increase our daily rate, increase our base rate, increase our top line revenue, everything. Okay, there's a lot of things that we can do here. All right, now, if you look at your design itself, right, and you look at, and I don't have a case study to give you, but I'll just give you some examples. You have two properties on the exact same street with the exact same view. One is an old traditional cabin, and it's got the checkered, the bears, like, we run in the mountains. So checkered, the bears, the moose, all these things, the old, grandma's closet, grandma's house decorations. And then next door, we have a very unique design, one slope roof type cabin, very modern, very new. You got the dark paint, you got the ironwork paint, you've got all these things, and then you've got let's say they both have hot tubs, they both have a view, they both have access to the same amenities, but one design is so much more elevated than the other one. Here, you've got just a traditional cabin, checkered bears. That's $150 a night cabin. You got the high-end boutique design, exact same street, exact same view, exact same amenities. They both have a game room. Those exact same things, that's a $400 a night cabin. And that's your base rate, right? That's not high numbers, occupancy. That is just what you're renting the accommodation per night for, right? This isn't doubling your accommodation night per stay. This is doubling your ADR. That alone, that design factor alone is a $150 to a $400 night cabin. I know I ran this high-end cabin, and I also have these cabins too. And on the same road, they rent differently. Occupancy is different. The type of avatar is different. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's different. But you can get way more per night stay on your base rate, for instance, than you can here. These $400 a night. These $150. Okay? So I just want you to be like, everybody knows that design plays a part, but do you really pay attention to that? So, upgrade, so what can you do for your design, right? Instead of building a brand new cabin or a brand new house, what can you do to your listing today to figure out how to make more money and just be able to bump your base rate up? People want to, if you bump up the base rate, it's because there's a demand, and there's a demand for your product. Right, so the old cabins, like in Blue Ridge, the old cabins, the old designs, those are going away. The demand for that is going away. So how do we increase the demand? Well, to keep the demand decent, when those are going away, we have to lower the rate, right? Supply and demand here. More people want to be in the very nice design. I would say more. Yeah, today I would say more. Like 2 years ago, I would say it's kind of like there's an avatar for that. There's an avatar for this. The avatar for that, $150 a night, $100 a night. Avatar for this, $400, $500, $600 a night. Okay, so when you look at this and you say, what could I do to my cabin or my house or my property to try to compete with this over here? Simple, I got some stuff here. Let's say simple furnishing upgrade, right? So you walk in your bathroom and you say, oh my God, this is a 1990s bathroom. The light fixtures above the mirror, there's no frame around the mirror. It's the original mirror. You got the big bulbs that just stick out of the wall. Upgrade that. Okay. Yes, we want to upgrade the shower curtain and the table and the couch and all that stuff too. But look at your fixtures. Simple, doesn't cost a lot. Change your ceiling fans, change your light fixtures, change your mirrors, change your countertops. These things play an important role on what people see. So there was somebody else helping out. We were just doing a listing review, if you will, and on the listing review, we looked at it and we said, your house is a bomb house, a beautiful house. Then we got to the bedroom, to the bathroom, and I was like, what in the world? Why didn't you touch this bathroom? They said, well, I was told not to. I'm like, you absolutely have to. This bathroom is really, really tough. It's tough to even look at. And you're swiping through photos, you're like, great photo, great, 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 and then, come on, right? The rest of the house is beautiful. And then you get to the bathroom and it's whoa, they cheaped out on this. What are we doing? So we don't want to have that kind of stuff, right? If we're going to do everything, do your fixtures, do the stuff that people are going to interact with immediately, right? The tables are nice. The chairs are nice. Yes, the coffee maker is nice. But the actual furniture, the actual furnishings in the house, the fixtures in the house, let's pay a little attention to it, right? Go on Amazon, buy some nice farmhouse or boutique or modern, whatever, I don't care. But we got to change it, okay? Now, when you change this stuff, I'll back up. Even if this is perfect in your house is well designed, you have great amenities, you have great murals on the wall. I don't care. It's great. It's a bomb house. But your pictures are taken with your iPhone. We have a problem. Because something like that, let's say it's supposed to rent for $10K. Let's just say, for instance, it's supposed to rent for $10,000 a month. And we can't seem to get it booked because nobody can even picture what it looks like in the house. The pictures are blurry or they're this nasty super wide angle and the pictures just suck. You can tell they're iPhone photos. You can tell, and yes, iPhone is fine to a point. If you don't know how to use the iPhone photos, we have a problem. But when we look at that and we say okay, the house is struggling, it can't get booked. I'm booking for $2,500 a month. And you look at it and you say, why am I struggling so hard? Because your presentation sucks. So if we literally take a house that was $2,500 a month and the occupancy is 15%, because nobody can figure it out and it's sucking in your algorithm, nobody can find it, people click on it, they want to throw up. When we change the presentation of the property just with pictures, so people understand what they're booking, one, you'll boost higher in the algorithm because you have better pictures. More people will be clicking on it and staying on it and experiencing the listing. So that helps your algorithm and your exposure side. But then people are confident in what they're booking. When people start producing questions in their mind of like, well, I don't know about this, I don't know about that, it's easy to jump off the listing. So we want to be very clear and very engaging and very like magnetic for people to actually book the property. You're selling the property. If you don't put anything into your presentation, your photos, your ADR is just going to go to zero because you're not going to be able to book it. Like 100%, your ADR is going to be zero because you cannot book the place. So that's more than doubling your ADR. That's a bajillion times in your ADR because now you can actually book it. Okay, so presentation is massive. So furniture, doing any kind of upgrades, like on your furnishings themselves, you've got a difference in your income. Same cabin, same exact house, same exact property, next door to each other. One photographed very well and one doesn't. Nobody's booking the one that doesn't because it creates too much problem and too much friction in their mind. And they might not be able to find it at all. So there's how you increase the ADR just in that, just by that alone. Now, what's another way you can increase that in your photos is increasing in your lifestyle photography. So lifestyle photography is more of your like million plus home, but lifestyle photography actually creates the emotion in somebody's mind for them to want to spend time there. So if you have something that's on the river, you have great views, it's just like, it's just a very, very luxury home. There's a lot of things to do. Put your kids in the photo, borrow somebody else's kids, bring your friends out. What you're doing is you're creating that want to be there. You're creating that like in their mind, that I don't know what it's called, the endorphins in their mind, whatever, the chemicals released that they want to be there. They are now super attracted to the property. They see themselves there. They see their family. They see the memories they're making. That alone, you didn't even do anything. You invested another $1,000 in some higher end photography because lifestyle photography can be expensive. You invested another $1,000. You're going to get that back in like 3 bookings. So now you're just on a converting side. That's how you're increasing your ADR and your gross revenue because the conversion for bookings go from 0.02% to 0.6%. Most of the people that click on the listing, that stay on the listing, book your listing. Boom, occupancy's through the roof. Now when your occupancy goes up, your revenue goes up. When revenue goes up, like your price per night can go up because your demand is high. Okay, so that's just one. So we got furnishings and decor, right? If it's designed well and pops well, people want to be there. The demand goes up where we can increase that base rate. We can increase the revenue. We increase our occupancy all the way around. Okay. Professional photography, massive, absolutely massive. Don't just hire a realtor that does photography to sell a house. Hire an STR photographer. Don't look at saving the $500 or the $1,000. Spend the money, and I promise you it will return. I promise you. There's no question. I would guarantee that. Guarantee that would return. Okay. Let's see. Of course, you want anything that makes you unique, right? I've seen neon signs in your design. Neon signs, grass walls were a big thing. They still kind of are. Any kind of like, we used to call them like IG, like Instagrammable photos or whatever. Anything like that just creates that like action inside their mind. It's unique. So accent walls, they pop. That doesn't cost much at all. You're taping off the corners and you're painting a wall. Hot tubs, of course, ADR wise, I would tell you if you're going to do something like an amenity like a hot tub, so you have all your amenities, right? The hot tub, sauna, things like that. I had a property we took on very like specifically. It did not have a hot tub, and they were not going to put a hot tub in. And I was like, well, we'll see. We started this thing at a $200 a night rental. Base rate in price labs, $200 a night. 0 bookings. No book. I could, and we had multiple properties on the street. I could not get this thing booked for anything. But from 200 to 170 to 150 to 125, all the way down to 100. Literally 100. And we just started putting a little discount on it. And we were booking that place at like $97 a night, $102 a night. And we like it was crazy. Like it was booking crazy at $92 a night. Like insane, like 90% occupancy. But we were only doing like, I don't know, less than $3,000. Like it was stupid. And I'm like, well, at 200, we would have doubled the revenue. And literally the people were inquiring if it had a hot tub. Does it have a hot tub? Do you have will it have a hot tub by the time I get there? Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it. The cabin did not change. It was just the hot tub problem. So that alone would have doubled occupancy. No question. Saunas are a big thing that's come out. You can do your amenities with a sauna. The cold plunges are a big thing now, but I wouldn't do a cold plunge without doing like a pickleball court or something where people can like work out, because now you're in that like fitness, wellness side. Okay. So like, remember that. Let's see. Outdoor movies, indoor movies, movie theaters, those are big ones too. Just got to be careful how much money you're going to spend there if it's going to return. So, but movies, like doing it correctly with the right movie chairs, that kind of thing, that is a very, very high value amenity. Other amenities would be, like amenities will always increase occupancy and ADR and top line revenue. No question. This is a very low hanging fruit, but it can be very expensive. Bowling alleys, massive. I've seen bowling alleys like in some of your, what you see is some of these markets that like they start theming rooms and they start with a game room. They add, this whole market would be like hot tub, saunas. Then the whole thing would be theming rooms, theming bedrooms, and then your game rooms kind of just go off the maps. Then you have putt. Then you have bowling alleys. You have movies and theater rooms. Then you start looking more stuff outside. So then you got the pickleball court. So there's it's weird to notice this, but there's like a level tiered system. So if you're in like a really hot market like Orlando with themed rooms, pickleball, all this stuff, and then you go to something like Blue Ridge doesn't have this stuff. Like there's a couple, but they don't have it yet. They will eventually. So if you can go ahead and slap a really good investment, I say slap. If you can place strategically a very good investment like cabin or whatever multi-in that has these theme rooms, that has these like theaters or the pickleball courts, stuff like that, they will do very, very, very well. Okay. You can rent at a very high rate and your occupancy will stay occupied. Okay. Just putting that out there. Pet friendly would be a good one. Again, these are just high value amenities that were just thrown out. So these are low hanging fruits that everybody should know, but maybe you're just starting out and you don't really think about this stuff. Let's see, pet friendly. So if you're going to go pet friendly, you obviously want the dog bowls and you want the treats and you want the beds and you want the fenced yards and you want all these things, right? So don't just say pet friendly, which is just an amenity to search for. But if your avatar are these people, then niche down in that avatar, like niche down in that industry and blow it out of the water. Okay. And then that's where people will naturally come to you, because you won't be just dog friendly. You will be like a dog accommodation, if that makes sense. All right. And work tables, super high speed internet, those things won't really like increase your revenue, but it will stop bad reviews, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to move on from amenities, because those are low-hanging fruits, to we're going to look at the niche guest. Okay, this is actually really interesting. So there's a hotel consultant, if you will, known through like a couple of partners of ours. And we got on a call yesterday, and I just straight asked him. He's managed 30 hotels. Said, "Hey, I'm here just to learn. Anything you tell me would be great. I just want to know like the top 2 to 3 things in any hotel or any property, what you would recommend. What are the top 2 or 3 things that you absolutely have to do right out of the gate?" And one of his things was niching down in like magnifying down in a niche. So if your property is a wellness retreat, your property is for outdoors, your property is very boutique, your property is more fitness, your property is more relaxing, couples, whatever. Understand what your niche is and stop trying to satisfy everybody, and get super, super, super niche down into one market and explode it. Have everything you can think of around that property. So there's something like we have the Mallard in Copper Hill. We noticed that like it's an outdoor market, right? Trails and bike riding and hiking and whitewater rafting and all these things, camping, all these things. Well, we moved like a refrigerator and an ice machine out of this little cubby hole, if you will. And I was like, well, okay, there's nothing here. But then, like, what could we do here? Well, we're going to put a bike rack right there, because what we notice is people that are coming trail riding, they park their bicycle in the room because they would have to like pick it back up, put it on the truck, tie it off, all this stuff. They just pull it in the room. So we said, well, like the people here are very outdoorsy. So like we need to have a bike rack for people to just park their bike right here and chain it up and be done. Like it's very accommodating for this type of market. So understand what you're going for. If you're going for a bougie, high-end property, make sure you have slippers, you have robes, like accommodate that. Accommodate the very like high-end. Don't have just like a regular Keurig as a coffee maker. Like accommodate the espresso machine or Nespresso machine. Like accommodate that stuff. If you're going to give that tier level of service for a property, everything in that property needs to accommodate that person. And that will attract so much more people, and people will know, like you're booking $1,000 a night. People will know that you are accommodating to them, and there's no question. They know exactly what they're looking for, and you serve that purpose. Period. End of story. You can raise the rates. You can raise your occupancy. You can raise your upsells later on. Like there's all these things that can happen if you just niche down in one industry and move forward. Okay. Like Scottsdale, Arizona, there's so many things there that produce $1,000 and $2,000 a night properties. There's a lot. But at your $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a night properties, there's other things and levels of service that come with that. It's not just a property. It is a full-on out resort, luxury, all-inclusive type deal. People are coming, giving you massages, that option. You have private chefs. You have shopping. You have, oh my God, you have things like at that level, most people are playing golf at that level. So they have golf simulators. They have some kind of like, of course, your movie theaters, you have like these like vending machines inside. You have this whole level of service. When they get there, maybe it's $1,000 a night. They get there and they book a $400 massage. That's $1,400. So let's say they booked a whole week. Well, actually, $1,000. Yeah, let's say it's a $5,000 booking, and you just add this stuff up. Your $5K. Now you booked a massage for 3 people at $400 a piece. That's $1,200. So now it's $6,200. And while they're there, they actually had a chef come in, and they paid you to get the chef in, and you marked that up. I don't know, $150 a day that they were there. They were 5 days. It's another $700. So now it's not $6,100. Now it's almost $7,000. So like this stuff starts stacking. At the end of the day, it's not a $5,000 a week anymore. It's an $8,000 a week. So you just over 1.5 times the actual revenue for the week in just upsells and just experience. So like if we're going to do this, do it right. That's all I can say. So if you're going to offer that level of service, things come with it. Okay. We start stacking the stuff, and everything that you do needs to be marked up. And if you're going to offer shopping to fully stock fridge, cool. You have to pay somebody to go do that. Cool. But that needs to be a $150 upsell or a $100 upsell or whatever. You're not really doing anything. You're not the one going shopping. You're just pulling a trigger and placing people where they need to be, but you're offering that level of service. Okay. All right. Let's see here. We're focusing on how we sell to people, right? We talked about lifestyle photos and all that. When we change the actual listing to serve a purpose of fulfilling emotion, we're talking to the people that are going to book it, right? You don't have a daughter that's just looking for places and trying to send the parent, hey, we should just book this. Like if the daughter's looking, or the parents, like if the daughter's actually the one booking the place, we need to talk to the daughter. If it's like we're talking to the whoever's booking the place, I don't care. Whoever's booking the place, maybe it's a grandma booking for the whole family. Okay, the grandma is the avatar that we're booking for. We need to talk to the grandma. If it's the daughter, and maybe it's a 25-year-old that's booking the place for the whole family, we need to talk to the 25-year-old. Who do you want booking the place? Talk to them in the listing. Show them in the pictures of exactly what we're trying to do here. Okay, when we can create that level of emotional connection, we can more or less charge whatever we want. If it's somebody just going for budget, cool. Offer a little bit more, charge a little bit less, book it, whatever. But if we're creating like Michelle and Tony, they've got a very, very high-end property in Bradenton. It's very well designed. I think it top line does like $20K a month or something like that. It's pickleball court. It's the pool. Like it's crazy. There was an execution of about 1.5 years. Crazy property. But they know exactly who their avatar is. and they're hitting them and they're just slapping them in the mouth. Okay, so like if we're going to offer that level of service and that type of property, we need to know exactly where those people stay, where they're coming from, where they live, what they want, how they operate, and we're pushing that product straight to them. Okay, the name of the property aligns with whatever experience we're trying to offer. All right, and so like that name may be something literally like you're just like repositioning the property. Like let's say that name is something like, there's a cabin in Blue Ridge called the Bougie Lodge. Okay, it's a very high end property, but the Bougie Lodge, like just be clear, that's the name of it. If it's a wellness center or wellness property, it could be like the Wellness Retreat, Bradenton, the Wellness Retreat in Bradenton, the Wellness Center in Bradenton, like whatever. We just need to position it to be the product to sell. We have a great product. We have to figure out how to package it and sell it. All right. Now, if you are, we talk about like some services and like chefs and like full refrigerators, things like that. If we're looking to take it to the next level and we want to do things like maybe you have a low occupancy, let's just say, it's a time of the year, lower occupancy, you're only going to do $4,000 this month, but you still need to do like 7 or 8. Let's just say the way to do that, you have to lower your rates a little bit so you can increase your occupancy depending on hotels and products. When you do drop your rates, your occupancy should go up. Like just standard everyday discussion here. Usually, unless you're just at that bottom already, it's not going to matter. But traditionally, your ADR goes down a little bit. You're 5-10% under the market where you need to be. Your occupancy should increase. So if you take that method in your lower occupancy months and you're slashing prices and you're packaging it with something else like tubing tickets or walking an apple orchard or wine tasting or I don't know, anything like that. Tours, brewery tours, whatever. Like when you package it, something kind of low ticket, but you're creating that experience, people want to do that. They want to stay at the property. They want to go walk a brewery tour. They want to come back. They want to go drink. They want to come back. People will book your place just to experience that travel. Okay, they don't even really care about your property. It's a great time to travel because it's cheap. They don't care about you. They care about the brewery tour. They care about the whitewater rafting. And then you're switching out and they're just staying with you. But you just get booked, right? So that's very important. Very important to understand on your slow season. There are some markets where you only really make money like 3 months out of the year. I know so many people that run hotels that they only make money 3 months out of the year. But they make so much money that it carries the rest of the year. There's only 3 months. The property we have in Acadia, we're only open like 7 months out of the year, literally. We do the revenue in those 7 months to carry us for the rest. And then, then it's like, how do we protect the profits from the high months? That's pretty much the question, all the way around. You want to lose $20,000 a month because you're shut down, right? So packaging it with things like in your slower season is very, very important because people don't care about your property in the slow season. They do, but they don't. They care about like what experience they're going to do. If you package it with whitewater rafting, they want to go whitewater rafting. They're going to be so tired when they come back to the house, they don't care. They're just trying to book something cheap. Be the solution. Okay. Now, when we move from the property physically to more of the back end, so we're talking about like revenue management. When we look at Price Labs, this is a long call. This is going to go for a minute. When we look at Price Labs, if you're not using something like Price Labs for dynamic pricing or strategies, you're like 6 years ago. Okay, like if you're not taking professional photography, you're 4 years ago. You're pre-COVID. Okay, you're like $250 a night flat Monday through Sunday. Like we gotta let that go. So it's time to invest in the software. It's time to invest in your Price Labs. Like this is, I shouldn't even have to say this, but I have to say it. Price Labs, or there's another one out there. Price Point, Wheelhouse is another one. But I like Price Labs. That's where we stay. That's what we use. So Price Labs is very important. And we've done a couple of Price Labs calls and like revenue management calls. But just to give an idea, we need to know when the demand in the area goes up. So when the demand in the area goes up, we are increasing our pricing. No question around that. there is certain things in the market, comp sets, things like that we need to build, like what our competitors are doing. Are they raising the prices? Are they lowering the prices? Are they booked? Are they not? Are they even listed? Where are they at? Are they shutting down for April? Like, what are they doing for us to understand where we need to be? If we see that everybody's booked and the demand's going through the area, our prices need to naturally rise. If you're not using something like Price Labs, your prices are not naturally rising. So this lowest hanging fruit, I would tell you right now, lowest hanging fruit is sign up for Price Labs. That's literally it. If you're at a $200 a night standard and you're like, well, I'm just going to raise it $20 a night on the weekend and lower it $20 a night in the week. If you just sign up for Price Labs, there's days being booked 3 times your base rate, 3 times your nightly rate because of big events, holidays, Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas. There's all these things that happen that you have no idea about because you're not using something to tell you when the events and the holidays and the demand are. You may not realize, but 2 weekends out of February are super, super high demand because there's 2 huge festivals, the biggest festivals in the market, right? We're very, very fluent in Blue Ridge. They have festivals that come in that I don't even know. They have chili cook-offs. I didn't even know. But Price Labs does because it sees all of the demand in the area, okay? So that, like, before photos, before anything else, we have to have an understanding of what we're competing against, market, events, other properties. Like, we have got to understand that so we can compete. That alone will more or less double your revenue. Like, if you really just don't know and you're like the standard, like if I'm talking to you right now and you're like standard $200 a night, Price Labs alone, and you say, like, well, it's $15 a listing. Shut up. Go get Price Labs. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Let's see here. You can do some creative stuff inside Price Labs. Like, we talk about like increasing the bottom line too. So decreasing like cleaning rates. We have like longer stays. We get somebody in there for 5 or 6 days versus two nighters or 2, 3 nighters. You're saving money on cleaning, but you're also forcing people to book those days. So we can put some, and again, I have a whole nother training on this, a whole nother thing on like how to use Price Labs. I'm not going to go like super, super deep on that, but just to give you some, it could be like your longer minimum night stays, your last minute discounts to get more bookings. Like, let's say people are booking a lot in the next 6 or 7 days, but you don't have a discount. So you're not competing with anybody else. Like, everybody else is lowering and they're capturing those bookings. So last minute stays, orphan gaps, you have a 3-night minimum, but then you have an orphan gap of 2 nights, but you don't have the orphan gap rule in there. People can't book it. Let's see. Of course, they're raising the rates, far out bookings, just making some restrictions on like what they can book and how they book. That's going to be like really important. Now, there is something that I don't do a lot of, but some people do, and it's a really good recommendation, is in the slower season, you could have something where you tier down like, well, this sleeps 10, but in the slower season, it's more just like weekend trips with 2 or 3 people. So you just lower your tier of what you can sleep. Maybe you go down to sleeping 4 people and your rate is technically like half, but so they see it. The guest sees it as a really cheap option. And then they're like, oh, well, I have 6 people coming. And now you're just kind of pricing it up a little bit. So you could do that, or you could like a split listing and like get that booked on your off season, depending on how heavy your off season is. Maybe a good option for you. Maybe it's not worth it, but that's something for you to decide for your market. Okay. Or you look at your last year trends. If you have 0 bookings in January, either slash the rates or just create a whole nother listing that offers that lower tiered service or lower tiered, people booking, if you will. All right. Now, again, I'm not going to spend like way too much time on Price Labs, but if you don't have Price Labs or something like it, get off this call right now and go sign up for Price Labs and go make some more money. That's the best I can say. All right. So when you think about, this is also another low-hanging fruit that a lot of people don't think about, but it is a really good option. In your property management software, it's kind of goes along with your pricing, is your like day before and day after. If you're not working with like orphan days, but if you want to increase the revenue of that one guest. So think about that. If you increase the revenue or the value of that one guest that booked $1,000 trip, every $100 extra, you're just increasing it 10%. So every $100 that you can make, it's increasing at 10% of the value of that guest, which is huge, right? Because if you can do 10% there, you do a $4,000 a month, and you can increase it 10% only. That's $400. A couple of questions, couple of answers, couple of seconds in your messaging, and you just made $400. So think about that. Now, again, that's not doubling your ADR, but that is one thing to stack to get you there, right? You have your discounts, which are your last minute bookings. Then you offer them something else to upsell them. Great, they got a deal on their accommodation. Now they're buying a romance package from you. Then they want a full kitchen stocked when they get there. So like boom, 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 you just made $300. Now you're back at that original accommodation fare before you do all your discounts. It is a business. Like every property is a business, and we have to figure out how to make and squeeze as much money out of each guest, as bad as that sounds, as possible. So you're getting squeezed right now on every software that you have applied for, every property that you have, everything that you own. You've been squeezed to pay as much money as possible. You buy a new car, then they offer you gap insurance. Then they offer you full coverage, warranty. Then they offer you automatic payments. Like they offer you all these things, and it just costs more money. When you buy the car, you have your rain guard purchased and paint protection, and which is an upsell. Your interior protection, which is an upsell. You can do lifelong oil changes, which is an upsell. You can do your insurance in-house, upsell, warranty, upsell. Like there's all of these upsells that you're constantly getting hit with every single day because it's a business. So how do we upsell the guests when they come into the property? So we have the accommodation. We can have any kind of events. Maybe there's an event that you can do, right? This may be for bigger properties. You can have like romance packages, $150. They're coming for anniversary. They're coming for honeymoon. They're coming for birthday parties. They're coming for gatherings, whatever. Don't care. Baby showers. Don't care. Upsell. Okay. Do you want this package? We have this option. We have these things. Late checkout, early check-in. Late checkout, $100. Early check-in, $100. Depending on the cost of the night. If it's $700 a night, you're not going to do a $100 late checkout. You're going to be like a $250 late checkout, whatever. On the end of your reservation, day of check-in, day of checkout, there's some automatic and automations that we can put in for our PMS, and it includes, but is not limited to, selling the night before and the night after. And you could do a 40% discount. You can do 50% discount. You could set it up, say like, well, this is an orphan day. It's one night. I'm not having anybody book this thing. Okay, cool. Check the guest before and the guest after. Do they want to book the night before? Do they want to get a super early check-in? You're not going to book it already, right? It's $1,000 a week or $1,000 weekend. And you're like, hey, Thursday night is not booked. So, hey, do you want Thursday night or do you want to check in super early on Friday? Cool, it's $200, $250, $100. Don't care. That's $1,000 weekend. You just book for $100. That's 10% more. Then you can give them a late checkout for another $100. So that's $200. So 20% extra on top of their revenue or on top of their accommodation. Then they did, hey, it's a getaway for us. It's a 50th birthday. Okay, or 25th anniversary, whatever, don't care. On that's another $150 package. You're setting up balloons and you got cupcakes and you got all this stuff. It costs you like $30 or $40. You just netted $100 or $120. So there's another $150 on top of the $200, on top of the, like you have all, I'm not saying every guest is going to do this, but there's opportunities here. Okay. Let's see if you want to, so you got your packages. If you're going to you could offer like game nights there. Like, hey, I can do like bingo, could offer you popcorn, could have this, could have that. It's $45. S'mores kits, those are $15. So there's these things that you can do to offer your guests more experience, more product, more time, and everything costs extra, right? I'm not saying nickel and dime and everything, but you never know. Okay, just realized I got two comments, two messages here, which is great. I got Javier about that option of tiering prices depending on guest count. How can that be done seasonally? Do you have to just change the configuration of your PMS when low season comes And then again, for high season, is there a way to configure it for certain dates? So that would be a Price Labs thing to help you adjust some tiers, or you could do like a duplicate list. There's a couple of things. So if you want to like change your pricing, let's just say this. You want to tier your prices for a certain season, let's just say, then you could do that. Like in Price Labs, you have your market, like you have your seasonality calendars and stuff like that. So maybe like, January, February, March, you're like, hey, this needs to be slashed like 30% or 20%. And then like, I don't know, August, September, it needs to be another 20%. And you assign those properties to that side. So that's one, just tiering prices. You do that a bunch of different ways. But on the other side, you can do a duplicate listing for maybe an inquiry only or whatever, and just have that set up in the PMS to say like it sleeps 10, but at 4 we're actually going to do like $150 a night or $100 a night, and then every time they add per guest it's like $25 a night. So that would be like on the listing side to do like your guest change. On the tiered pricing, just pricing, not having anything to do with any guests, that would be a Price Labs thing. On the other side, if you're affecting the guest count, that's going to be a listing side, and I'll tell you to duplicate your listing and have another listing for that. I think that answered your question. Joseph Curtin, what's up, dude? 30% or so of our guests take us up on upsells of the night before and after check-in upsell, huge upsell and revenue booster. We add a message like this automatically and hospitable. If the night before or after is available, the night before or after is available, blah, 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 or you like to mention it. Yes. So this is something you can absolutely set up in your automations. And then if they say, I would absolutely love to do that, cool, boom. Either your VA steps in or Host Buddy steps in or whatever, and you have to just run that. Like you just have to execute it. Okay. So eventually I think it will get to a point where you're just like, click yes, pay this, blah, blah, blah. But it is a time for upsell. Okay. It is a massive time for upsell. So love to see that. Anything else that you guys are doing to upsell or to make more money or anything like that to increase your ADR, increase your revenue? Like love to hear it because other people learn from that as well. I know a lot, I've seen a lot, but again, like this is community. Okay. So seeing other people do this is amazing. Host Buddy is something we will be doing. Yes. I have a lot of people in PowerPath that use Host Buddy. I had a huge demo with them yesterday, which I've already seen a demo with them a long time ago. But they've changed a lot. And for right now, we did like a 2-hour demo because we just chatted for a long time. But yes, we are going to be implementing it probably in the next like 2 weeks. But Javier uses it on like Javier's comment on here. They've got 55 units that they're using it on right now. And so we have a lot of people that are starting to use it. Let's see. I talked to them yesterday. They have like 800 customers, 800 like owners or property managers or clients, whatever you want to call them. They have like 8,000 properties that they're using it on. So, okay, let's see. Let's see what else is on my list over here. Branding. That kind of goes in line with how we're positioning it, right? So if we're going to be branding it and we need to increase the exposure and kind of develop that name, people don't like if you stay at a property and you love the property, there's something about the property that you're trying to remember if you want to book it again, right? If you want to get like repeat guests. Yes, you could do emails. Yes, you do messaging. Yes, you do direct bookings, all that stuff. But, if you miss them and they're like, hey, I would love to like book this place again and they can't find you, there's got to be something that reminds them. And that's a name. And so it could be like the Bougie Lodge. I've never forgotten that ever. Like even like when I'm like, oh, I'm having a brain fart, Bougie Lodge always comes up on my mind. So putting a name with it and the brand and the experience, that kind of builds with that. Like it's more than just an Airbnb, right? If they book their Airbnb, it's more of an experience. It's more of a product is what it is. So when we get into like the branding side, you got the Facebook page, you got the Instagram page, you got the direct booking site, you got the pillows, you got the mugs, you got the floor mats, you've got all these, you got the neon signs, you've got all these things that say Blue Fox Den, Blue Turtle Villa, I don't know, Bougie Lodge. You've got all these things that are with it, and people are like, oh my God. So even if somebody's having a bad experience, like let's just say the remotes don't work and the ceiling fan won't work and the hot tub breaks. They're like, hey, I'm at the Bougie Lodge and I'm having these problems. And like your level of service is there, right? Like you're there. So remember, it's like they're renting from a person, not like a big, massive company. And then it has a face. Okay. So branding is important. A lot of people are like, should I get a direct booking site? Should I go spend 10 grand or 5 grand on a direct booking site right now? No, unless you're at a level where you can like expend that income and you're like, hey, look, I'm trying to put some more back in my business. Cool. But you have one property and you're like, hey, should I spend 4 grand on a direct site? No. Use Wix and use OwnerRez and use Hospitable. Like, use the direct booking site that you have access to. Make it pretty. Use somebody on Fiverr if you want to. And it's like, just remember what you are offering. And just because you have a great direct booking site doesn't mean your SEO is going to be killer. Doesn't mean people are naturally going to find you. Doesn't mean your direct booking site is going to go up. Like, utilize the OTAs and then capture them back to come direct booking. That's what you do. And then you can save some money there. You can make more money on your occupancy later by redirect, but you don't please don't spend 5 grand on a direct booking site for the one unit. Okay. Just putting that out there. All right. Know your events calendars. That's what we talked about before. That's where Price Labs will help you. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. Let's talk about packages. This is probably gonna be one of the last things that we're really going to talk about. So increasing the ADR, increasing the revenue of the property. Remember, like we said at the very beginning, if you're looking at ADR, you're taking your occupancy and you're pretty much using that and you're dividing out what your nightly rate comes out to be. That's your ADR. That's your top line. That's super, super top line. From there, it kind of flows and you get your RevPAR and all that crap. Now, top line, talking about top line, how to increase your top line revenue, how to increase your ADR, how to double your income. If you work with places like the tubing tickets, if you work with places like we're working with a guy for one of the hotels for trout fishing. If we're gonna work with a ski rental place, right? We want to know what their package is, and we say, hey, cool. How do we extend those nights? So, for instance, we talked to the trout fishing place down by the Mallard, and I said, you tell me what your standard package is, and he said it's a half-day tour. Half-day boat float. It's $400. I said, cool. Tell me what happens when somebody books. Do they come in for a day? They stay for 2? Where do you tell them to book? What about all this stuff? And he said, well, they usually book the night before because they have to be here at 6 a.m. Cool. Then what? He said, then they're tired as crap and they drive home. Sometimes they might book a second night, but they're really, really exhausted. So they really need a place to stay. He said, but we don't really, he's like, honestly, I forget that you're up the street when I'm just in the middle of a conversation. So I just tell them, look on Airbnb. And that's usually what they do. I'm like, okay. So if they traditionally stay one night, how do we get them to 2 nights? Do we offer a discount? Whatever. But if we wrote this into one package and we become the lodging answer for all these packages, they're not coming to stay with us. They're coming to go trout fishing. We are just the solution for their trip. So it's like an all-inclusive trip, if you will. You pay one price. We pay them the $400. We offer the discount 10% or whatever, on the nightly rate. So maybe it's not $150, it's $135. Now we have a $270 night rate, but they either weren't going to book with us in the first place or we're extending them to 2 nights. It's a 2-night package. So they traditionally would just do 1, but now they're going to do 2. So now we just extended and we just doubled our income on that one possible booking. But we create that package and it's an all-inclusive package. And then what we do is we just invoice the trout company back saying, hey, this is what, they invoice us and then we pay them. But that's a package that you offer. So if you have a cabin or you have a house that's really close to a ski resort or tubing companies or, I don't care, apple orchards, figure out if they sell packages, if they sell events, they sell things to do, let's just say. How can you rope that together and extend that night? You make it a 3-night booking or a 5-night booking. So something we're doing at the Bluff House, which is up in Acadia, is we're going to do Explore Acadia. If you explore Acadia, what does that look like? If you explore Bar Harbor or you explore Winter Harbor, what does that look like? Well, we can give you a full itinerary of stuff to go do. And maybe some of these things we can say, hey, look, you're going to go on the sailboat riding or whatever. You're going to go here's a ferry ticket too, and you're going to go from one side to the other. And you're going to explore all these things. It's 5 days of action-packed stuff. So now we're creating this all-inclusive tour trip, and then we can sell it to just about anybody. And so we are, possibly upselling all these things, and then we just offer a discount on the room. But we're combining that together to increase our revenue, but also increase the day stay. So when you do that, you naturally make more money. Okay, so that's a big one. It is a little bit more complex. It's more of there's a lot of moving parts here. It is not perfect all the time, but it is a great way to make more money. No questions asked. And then that person may want to come back and stay with you in the future. That has nothing to do with trout fishing or nothing to do with exploring Acadia. They just realize dang, I found this place, it was included in this package, and it was a great place to stay. So now you're just building, you're building reviews, you're building your repeats and those kind of things. So that's a big one. If you have any questions about that, just let me know. I can try to help you out. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a text message. I will try to help you out the best way I can because it can get very complex. And so we want to reduce the complexity. We want to do the best we can, offer the best rates we can, and really just offer that experience. That's very important. Okay. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything else. That's I would say that's pretty much it. That's a lot of stuff, but that's pretty much it. You could do, again, there's a lot of other things that you can do. You could do like yoga class, fitness classes, personal training. Like if you have a gym, you offer that personal training, boat tours, ATV tours. Let's see what some other ones I've got. Very, very simple, low-hanging fruit upsells, s'mores kits, firewood deliveries, early, late check-in. Like if you're not doing these things that you need to go ahead and do it. And again, you can put all this stuff on automation, like no question. And with Joseph, back to your question about Host Buddy, you could integrate Host Buddy with doing these upsells for you. So if something comes through and they said, yes, I absolutely want a whole bundle of firewood, cool. Then you could either do WhatsApp or you could do like a Zap and create a ticket and like Zapier or whatever. But you could just do like WhatsApp goes out to the WhatsApp guy, goes WhatsApp to the firewood guy, and then the firewood guy says, yes, I'll bring it, and you're upcharging that $30, right? You're making $30. So they're doing all the work, and they cut you a 10% or 20% referral back over. Like now you have this like referral base, and you're making money, auxiliary income on the sides. So you could do something like that. You just don't want to just send them away. You want to try to take the money. You want to try to get them booked. I think that's about it. I think that's where I'm going to leave you guys. So if you got any questions, you need help, you're struggling, not sure what to do, shoot me a DM, text me, call me, Batman signal, like whatever. And I'm here. And with that, I will leave you. And I hope you guys have a killer week. And I will talk to you all later.